Welcome to Give Me Hope with your host and author, Johanna Vendel. Come join the conversation as Johanna focuses on sharing impactful personal narratives of loss. Her platform provides a safe space for individuals to express themselves, find comfort, and build connections as they navigate their grief journey. So now, please welcome the host of Give Me Hope, Johanna Vendel.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to Give Me Hope with Johanna. Today, we have a very special guest in studio, which I met in Phoenix at my book award when she won her book award. So let's welcome Sheree Bowen. Welcome,
Thank you
Sheree.
so much. Thank you. It's so good to be with you this morning, Johanna.
It is so nice to see you again.
I know, it's been a long time.
It definitely has.
Yeah, it
Well,
has.
Sheree, would you like to introduce yourself to our listeners?
I sure will. Well, first of all, I'm just so honored to be here this morning and honored to be a guest on your show. This has just been amazing, our relationship and all the things that we have been able to build together so far. And I know that there's going to be so much more to come. But I'm Sheree Bowen, and I am just outside of Nashville, Tennessee, and originally from Knoxville, and Vol country. But we moved here about 10 years ago with my husband's job. And so, but the blessing behind that is my kids are here. So I actually have some family that was in this area. So we're in a smaller town just outside of Nashville, and I have two children, and which they have their own families, and two grandchildren.
Oh, wow.
I know, I know. One's in middle school, one's going to high school this year. And you know how they're growing so fast.
I
But
know that feeling.
yeah, I know. But I tell you, I'm just over the moon proud of my family and of my kids. But as you'll learn probably during our interview today, that family and my parents and my children and my grandchildren, you'll learn, are so important to my story.
It's always like that. Our family plays such a big role in our lives.
Yes.
And especially when we lose some of them, it impacts our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And it changes our lives forever because that person is no longer part of your life.
You're exactly right. And that's really hard when you lose someone, because you're trying to figure out the grief process and you're trying to figure out how to navigate the hurt and the pain. But a lot of times I think I've heard people say before, Sheree, you might need to get into counseling, or you might need to, because I really had an incredible, incredible time of depression and just wanting to bury myself in a hole. I just didn't want to, I'm the best person at stepping out and smiling and acting like nothing is wrong, but being home in the silence of the hurt and the pain and the crying, that part of my story, I was having a hard time grasping, So I had to learn to navigate that. And ministry is where I found it instead of counseling. It was me pouring in to my story, to my ministry, having the support of my family, all of the things that I had before that I didn't feel like that I could do without my parents. I am now learning that it's okay to stand up and stand strong for what I do have, because that's the blessing,
Definitely, I can definitely relate with you there, because after losing my entire family also, it felt like I wanted to go sit in a corner, but it's not in my personality.
Yes.
I have been getting so used to putting on my mask and
Yes.
going out into the world and putting that
Yes.
smile on my face.
Yes.
And my recent book, I don't know if you've actually seen that I've just published my third book on
Oh my goodness.
Monday last week,
Congratulations.
and
Yes.
it's called Unseen Tears Beneath the Mask. And in that book, I'm
Wow.
actually removing my mask, and I am now only going to reveal myself from now on. And to
Yes.
be from coming sitting in that corner, wanting to take my own life almost,
Yes.
I have now removed my mask and just look at how far I have come. So it's all thanks to God
Thanks to the Lord.
and the
Yes.
strength that He has been giving me
Amen.
to have come this far, but
That's
to
right.
put this platform for people who has gone through the same
Right.
things as me,
Right.
and meeting people like you, it
Oh,
is
thank you so much.
amazing to hear that I am not alone in this struggle.
You are absolutely not alone and in the struggle. And even in the flip side of that, I know that you're interviewing me, but for you, Johanna, to have lost six people, um, is absolutely amazing to me. Of your resilience and how, just like the title of our show today is Unpacking Resilience, how you have done that with your life. I've lost several people as well, but never six people all at the same time. And I believe you're from South Africa, is that right?
Yes, yes. And it
Yeah.
is direct family. So it's my mom, my dad, three sisters, and my brother. So it
Oh
is
my.
my entire family that I
Yes.
grew up with,
Yeah.
that I lost. When you lose an uncle or aunt, you feel the loss. And they were
Yes.
part of your lives, but not as much as your own family has been a part,
Absolutely.
and played a role in your upbringing.
Absolutely. It's your inner circle that hurts the worst, and I
Yes.
commend you
And that is
for,
why sometimes you you can hear a lot of people saying, and I'm not sure if you also said this before, but when you say, I feel so alone,
yes,
you know, although you have your husband and your children and your grandchildren around you now
right,
and then,
right.
you get your moments where you just feel, I feel so
Mhm.
alone.
You're exactly right. Even in a crowd, you
Hmm.
could be in a crowd of people and having the best time and laughing, but in the back of your mind, you're still holding on to that, oh my goodness, I can't put my finger on exactly what it is, but I feel alone. I feel sad. I feel, what am I looking for? You know, and
Exactly,
you just
exactly.
want to get in
And
the bed, cover your head up. You
yes,
just
that is
want to,
exactly. And that is why I am so grateful that I have this platform to
absolutely.
actually hear about other people's stories.
That's right. You're
If
exactly
you
right.
want to start with your story,
Yes.
where did it begin, when you started to write your books and things like that? Where did your story begin?
Well, my story began with first wanting to leave a legacy. I wanted to leave a legacy that my kids could reference and that look back on. You know, we're talking about grief and past and having that particular thing apply to your kids. You want that to always be the first thing that they think about is, what would mom say? Or because I do that.
Mm,
What would mom say? What I think my grandkids call me Nini. What would Nini say about that? And so my first thought was legacy. Is where I kind of wanted to begin. But so let me just start unpacking my story of the resilience through my trials. And even bigger than my trials, but my huge mistakes. Because, Johanna, I made so many huge mistakes in my life, but it took me making those mistakes to find the ambition to step forward and learn to speak and learn to tell my story my way. Um, because I truly feel like that your story has a front and center. Sheree's story has a front and center, and everyone that every one of us, we were designed for a plan. But it's up to
Yes.
us to take, God gives everybody a plan, but it's up to us to take it and do the planning. So
Yes.
we have to
You
take his
see,
plan
that's
and
what
do
I
the
also
planning.
say, God gives us the plan,
Yes.
because you sometimes say, God, what shall I do? And
Hmm.
then something happens, and maybe that is what God's plan is for you. And if you don't
Right.
gonna take that chance to grab it on and do what you have to do, you're never gonna know if
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
what God has planned for you.
That's exactly
And
right.
then you see that you are making a success of it.
Right.
And here we are,
Right.
it's all
You're
about
exactly.
those steps and about grabbing onto that feeling that you have that God gives you.
Yeah, the spirit, his
Yes.
spirit, because it bears witness with who we are. His spirit bears witness as to our choices and who we surround ourselves with and who we allow within our lives, because we don't want a bad spirit that around us. We want his spirit because that's who
Yes,
guides us. That's who takes us to our next journey,
definitely,
takes us to our next
definitely.
level. And so my favorite word as of right now is the word completion. And I found that in Second Corinthians 8, it's chapter 8, verse 11. And all that it says, I'm not going to read the verse. I just want to say that that verse talks about being complete. It talks about God saying that He wants us to set our goals and start our journey, but He wants us to finish it. And He wants it to be done in completion. And so I was doing my Bible study. This is how it kind of started. I'll tell you a little insight to this. For
Please
me, I
do.
was to that word. I was doing a little bit of Bible study, and I always grew up knowing that. Have you ever heard the phrase, "A dusty Bible leads to a dirty life"?
No,
A dusty Bible leads
that's a
to a
good
dirty life.
phrase.
Yes, because if you don't pick it up
It's going
and
to get
dust it off,
dusty. If
yes,
you don't pick it up, it's going to get dusty. So,
yes, yes. So you can't, how are you going to learn God's map if you let it lay and get dusty and not open it
exactly.
up to follow what He has planned for our lives?
What a
So,
great message.
so
This
that
is,
I tell you,
I've never
that
heard.
word becomes so incredibly important to me. So anyway, I came across that in my study, and I read that scripture and I was like, completion. I had this overwhelming feeling. So I just laid down my Bible and my book, and I continued on throughout my day. Went into the kitchen, did all the things. That word, Johanna, kept hitting me. It kept jumping out, jumping out. And I kept thinking, what is he trying to tell me in this moment? And so I started to pray, and it just kept resonating with me and resonating with me to the point that I just couldn't get it off my mind. Have you ever had something to just hit you so hard that you just couldn't get past it?
Yes, you are making me think of something now. My dad, he always used to say, if you want a word for the day,
Yes.
take your Bible, put it on its back,
Yes.
and let it fall. And whatever you see first,
Yes.
that is the piece that you need to read for the day. And
Isn't that amazing?
sometimes, so what
That's
I
amazing.
sometimes do is I touch the Bible on a different area and I
Yes.
try to like help it to open up somewhere in a way, because sometimes when you just leave it, it will open up in the middle or whatever.
Yeah, that's exactly
But
right.
I give
Give
it a
you
little
the
bit of
word.
help and then let it fall. And wherever it opens up, I always try to read a small piece from there.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
what my dad taught me. And my dad's gone for 32 years this year already.
Oh my gracious. See, I've only lost my parents in 2020 and 2022. My mom just passed she didn't even live like a year and a half after my dad.
Oh,
So we lost them
it's a
back to back.
it's a broken heart,
Oh, for
to lose
sure.
the love of your life and
Yeah. And I'm an only child.
try to continue. Oh, I'm so sorry, Sherry.
Yeah. So it's,
Sherry.
I'm an only child. And so my mom and dad had tried for 9 years and 4 months to have children.
Wow.
They could not have children. And so they kept trying and trying all, the different medications, whatever they had to try, never. And so it was 9 years and 4 months later that my mom found out that she was expecting me.
How old was she at the time?
My mom was 26,
Oh,
26 at the time. And her and my dad had been married, since either they were high school sweethearts, all the
yes,
things.
those years they married when they just turned 18, I think.
Yeah.
Some people
Yeah.
some of them get married at
Yeah,
that
they
time.
did. They got married. My dad went into the Air Force, so he was an airman, and he went into the Air Force. But my mom had prayed and prayed and prayed for me for all those years. I know that kind of sounds like she prayed for me, but
That is how God hear you, because if you don't
yeah,
speak it out loud, he
that's
can't
right.
hear you.
That's
When you
right.
think it, he think that you're just thinking about it.
Yes.
But you when you I've learned
Speak
that
it.
when you speak it out
Yes.
loud,
Yes.
he
Yes.
answers your prayers.
He sure
It's
does.
just
It's amazing,
amazing.
isn't it?
It's amazing to see how it actually works, and how God actually answer your prayers. It's
He did. Well, he answered my mom's. He sure did. So 9 years and 4 months later, they told her she would not carry me, in which she obviously did. And I was born on Christmas Day.
I
And
will not forget that now.
yeah, I was born on Christmas Day. My dad always made a joke that said, "You were the cause that my Christmas dinner was peanut butter and crackers."
Well, they were surely blessed to have
Thank you so much.
you on Christmas Day.
I was the one that was blessed with amazing people to lead me and guide me and steer me in the right directions
Wow.
because as you'll know, throughout the interview, my family, my parents are the core of who I am. And they're my why as to why I get up and I do the things that I do. And I never thought in a million years that this would be the direction that God would have me to go, but it
Yes.
is. And here we
Wow.
are.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, my dad was a pastor. So we did all the things, Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesdays, and every night in between, so ministry was a constant in my life. Um, but I'll tell you this, but the conversation that my mom had with me was this. She said, um, mom and dad both, we would often talk about ministry, what we should do, how we should live. Now that we talked about that, and it would come in one year and out the other, but it's stuck. And but my mom and dad both said, whatever you do, stay in the Lord's will because you cannot manage life without it. You have to have God in order for direction, no matter if it's trauma, tragedy, grief, pain, no matter any of those things, you have to have God's direction because without it, we're just lost. We can't,
Yes, definitely. I agree.
yeah, he's our power to plug into. So, um, we either have to be, we have to choose if we're going to be lukewarm, if we're going to be on one side of the fence or the other. So we have to choose sides because God doesn't determine our worth by sitting on the middle of the fence. God's a jealous God, and He wants to hear from us. He wants to know
Definitely.
that we are His child and that we appreciate being His child.
Yes,
You know,
definitely.
because he
Definitely.
he look what He did for us. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
gracious. So I guess they were reiterating all this stuff to me, Johanna, because years past beforehand, man, I had messed up so bad. And I tell you, I've always been in ministry, but you cannot intertwine sin and service. They
Yes, I
don't mix.
agree with that.
You cannot sin and serve at the same time
I always
because
say you cannot sit on the wire.
no, yes, that's
You
exactly right.
cannot say, I want, uh, uh, you know,
Right.
you
You're
have to
exactly,
choose either or.
yep. So my dad passed and I kept remembering these things that they would say to me. And then um I started caring for my mom. Of course, I had them both in my home. And then when my mom got real bad, we set up um her room in our home. And here's a little insight for you, which you might like. Um, where I'm sitting right now was my mom's bedroom. And my husband completely redid my office. And where I am sitting is where my mom lay.
Where her bed was.
Yeah.
Wow. So you
So
living in your parents' house?
no, I live in my
Oh, you
house.
live in your house.
I live in
Oh,
my home,
so when your
and
mom got sick, you brought your mom into your house.
I did.
And
I did.
how long did she live with you before she
She lived
passed?
with me about a year and a half.
After your
And
dad died.
yes, yes,
How did your dad die?
he had a massive stroke.
Oh,
And I tell you, my dad was a minister. He was also a funeral director. And he had a funeral home in the Knoxville area. And so after we transferred here, my daughter, she was off in another state. She's a chemist, so she's like all over the place. And so she's out doing her thing. And then, but my other two, or my other son and my daughter-in-law, which I consider my
as
other
your
one,
daughter.
yes, um, they live here. Well, they were funeral director embalmers and they were running funeral homes here. So when my dad
Amazing.
retired, he came, we sold, all their properties there in the Knoxville area and they moved here. And my dad thought, well, I'll just go over to the kids' funeral home and I'll just work with them and just be there whenever they need me or whatever. And one day he was actually working a funeral, and my daughter-in-law noticed that he wasn't feeling his best, in which he normally never would say anything anyway. He just kept going, worked the whole entire funeral.
Oh,
And my daughter-in-law, Caitlin, she said, Papa, why don't you just go on home? We can handle this. You just go ahead and go on home. And he said, no, 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 I'm gonna stay and work. And so he did, and but he just wasn't feeling well. Got home, went to the kitchen to get him a little snack, and came in and sat down in his chair, and he slumped over with a massive stroke in his cerebellum. And so they tried to life flight him, and we was at Vanderbilt for 32 days with him at Vanderbilt, and then transferred out to a rehabilitation center. Um, but Dad only lived just probably a year after that stroke. Um, but my dad was a very prominent pastor, very, well spoken. He would do like invocations for the University of Tennessee football team, like when um oh Phil Fulmer was there. And so he was very prominent type of speaker. For him to lose his speech was devastating to him. So here he is, this person that's so used to being in control is now not in control. How many
mm.
times do we feel that way? you
Yes.
know, where we feel like we have it all together and we feel like that we have so much control over what we can do, who we can put in our lives, who we can take out of our lives. But that isn't up to us, it's up to God, right? And in order for Him to place us where we need to be, sometimes He removes things, sometimes He removes people,
People.
sometimes He gives you new people for a season.
I was
And
just speaking about this yesterday to someone else.
yes,
People come in your life for a reason
yes,
sometimes, and they are not meant to stay,
that's
and they
right.
go.
Yes.
And
And
then
it's
there are
not, it's,
people that come in your life
and
and they
stay.
stay forever, you know.
Yeah, that's right. And it's not that the people that come in and go out are any less important to your story. They're absolutely not. They're very important to who we are today. You know, the people that was in my past, I you love because what that did for you then is why you are where you are at now, you know?
Yes.
So it takes walking through a path of sometimes destruction in order to, I like to kind of use the analogy of walking through the valley. If it wasn't for the valleys, we would have no mountaintops. And so when we're in the valley, we may cry, we may hurt, we may try to figure things out, and we don't know the answer. But perseverance, walking through, picking up when we feel like that we've been left off is a part of the journey of climbing. And I think one thing that is really important to remember too here, Johanna, is God created the world. And then when he dumped all that land and he built up those mountains, it has all these rocks on it. But in order to climb to get to the top of the mountain, we have to climb the rocks. And sometimes we just need to pause, take a moment, and a breath, and say, I've got this because you did this. And so if it wasn't for the rocks, the valleys, we couldn't climb to celebrate the mountaintops.
Do you
So,
know that you are speaking exactly the way I feel about life now?
oh, what a blessing. That's amazing. That's
It's like
that's
you're
just a God
literally
thing.
describing what I have been going through my life as well, you know, and
Yes.
it is
Yes.
just amazing to actually hear it from you. We've actually got so much in
In
common.
common.
We
Yes. Yes.
don't have so much time to speak about all of this, but we can surely speak afterwards. But yeah, my
Yeah.
father was also a preacher. My
Oh,
father
wow.
also died of a stroke. Um,
What?
First, he had a stroke, and approximately a year later, he died of a heart attack. So, very,
Uh-huh.
very similar stories.
I
But
tell you, I
continue
tell
with
you.
yours. I am very interested to hearing
Okay.
more,
Yeah.
and I'm interested to hearing in your books if you can tell us a little
Yeah.
bit about that.
Absolutely. Well, I started the journey of when life gets messy, make it your ministry. And I had started writing the book and I actually had put it down. And I thought, I'm taking care of my mom and all the things. And so one day I was sitting again in her room with her beside her bed, and she was sleeping a lot. And she woke up and she looked at me, and she had arthritis really bad. And so she had a little crooked finger. And she took her little crooked finger and she pointed it over her bed rail at me, right it kind of like up toward my face. And she said, Sissy, you finished that book. And she said, God has bigger plans for your ministry. Don't quit. Finish the book. Well, that took me back. Now, that took me back to that Second Corinthians thing when I thought, completion. He tells us to complete. And here my mom is pointing that little crookedy finger at me saying, you finish the book. You finish it. So that's exactly what I did. So that hit me pretty hard. So I made a promise to myself, to God, to my parents that I would finish that book. And boy, did I not expect to be where I am today, serving and I'm doing the best I can to the best of my ability to make everything that I've studied, read, and wrote or written down come to fruition. And so that's where the journey began. And I never thought in a million years that this is where I would be. But this book was my first attempt at sharing that. Um,
Very nice.
that it was
I
God's
see it in
plan.
the background there with
Yes,
your
I can.
trophy. Very nice.
Yes, this
I
is the
like the
book.
colors.
When life gets messy, make it your ministry. And I wrote this book, um, and I finished it, and I put some within it. It also has like a places that where we could write it down, do a little bit of Bible study and that kind of thing with it because I think we've all walked through messy. I think we've all been there, and
Yes,
trying to figure out how we were going to, walk through it. And that's why I put like it's a journey of healing from our past mistakes and walking into God's favor.
very
So
nice.
so that's where that kind of began.
I
So,
actually have a video of your book. We will
oh, okay.
play it
Okay.
right now.
Okay.
One moment.
Join in a journey of healing from past mistakes with author Sheree Bowen. Her book, When Life Gets Messy, Make It Your Ministry, is one of personal discovery. Find out how God can still carry out His plan for you, even if you've had failures or detours. Turning your life over to God can result in all the great things that you've dreamed of. Available at Amazon, your local bookstore, or at trilogy.tv.
So anyway, I like mom had said for me to do that, for me to finish, for me to put it myself there. Um, and like I said before, Johanna, don't you feel like that we've all kind of gotten off the wrong track at certain times?
Somewhere
Sometimes,
in our lives, definitely. I
oh
think
yeah,
everyone has to go off the track to
yes,
realize that the only way forward is with God in it.
yes, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. Well, I tell you, sometimes I feel like that when we make a wrong turn, it's kind of like our own GPS, like we have in our cars, our GPS. It, your GPS keeps saying it, all those little annoying things coming from that little box. It's like,
You're
um,
going the wrong way.
yeah,
Make
yeah,
a U
rerouting,
turn.
rerouting, go to the next light, reroute. So what do we do when we get and that GPS is just like screaming at us and screaming at us? What do we do? Sometimes we just like turn it off, or maybe we pull over and we put the correct address as to where we need to be going. So, but
That's such a
kind of,
nice way to describe life.
I think that, see, when that's what we do when we get lost, is we need to pull over and re-put in the address. And it's like we're sometimes in life, I feel like that we're listening even to the wrong people, the chatter, you know, turn left, reroute, and so it's all about positioning yourself.
Yes. And
You know,
that can also make you get lost.
that's exactly
Reroute,
right.
do
Yep,
this, do that. And then it can make you lost in your life as well.
you're exactly right. Well, there's a really good analogy that, like, let me show you this. I got a bottle of water here. You see this bottle of water?
Mm-hmm.
I can go to the Dollar General or the dollar store, wherever you are at. I'm
Dollar store, yes,
a dollar store. Okay, I can go to the dollar store and pay $1 for this bottle of water.
of water.
I
It's
can
not
go
the
to the
dollar store anymore. It's $1.25.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I can go to the gym and this bottle of water is $5.
Yes.
I can get on an airplane and this bottle of water is $7. I can go to another country
And it
and
will
this
be
water
even
is
more.
$15.
Yes.
So it's
Value.
it's all about where we, the water, place ourselves
Yes.
to get the most for our value.
Yes.
It's all about how we position ourselves for our own value. So what is your value? Is it $1? Is it 5? Is it 10? Is it 15? Where are you going to go to find your value?
You
Where's
know,
the best deal
I
for
just
you?
had similar experience again where it's mostly a car. So if
Yeah.
you think about a very old car
Yes.
and it's rusted and this and that, but it's a very I don't say the old very first Fords that people now want to be driving when they get married
Yeah.
or something like that, because it's
Yes.
all about the photos. So
Right.
take for instance that car, and it's rusted and it doesn't look nice and things like that. And you now all of a sudden take it to the scrapyard. They're going to
Right.
say, no, I am going to give you only $100 for this, But take that same car to
Mhm.
someone who invests in these old
Yes.
cars
Yes.
after it's painted and everything, how much that value has now gone up. So it all depends on how you see life,
And
how you
yourself.
see just that one bottle of water that is actually um, maybe just $1, but
Right.
just because of its value, it actually does not have a price,
Yep.
specifically not water.
Right.
That was such a good um,
Analogy.
analogy, yes, of the water. It's
Yes.
really good because we cannot live without water. We can
Right.
live without a lot of things, but we cannot live without water. That
Without
is
water.
like such a good example.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Because I really feel like that we need to apply that, in who we are. Because
Yes.
like I said before, I made terrible choices, Johanna. I did. Big mistakes that I completely can't even, I look back and think, what was I thinking? And then I say I wasn't. I wasn't thinking, you know.
There's
You know,
that time in our lives where we just
yeah,
don't think, we just
no,
do,
yeah,
and
we
you
just kind of,
realize,
yeah,
you realize later, oh my word,
yeah,
what a
yeah,
mistake.
that's right. Well, I tell you, I had to really, have a come to Jesus meeting with my own heart. And, and I started remembering too, like the scripture, Matthew 7:14, where it says, um, wide is the gate, you know, and wide is the gate broad, is broad
Then,
the destruction. That's it.
okay.
Um, so it basically meaning the more room you have to find yourself to stray, the easier it is. But but narrow is the gate that the road leads to life. So basically what Matthew 7:14 is saying is if the gate is wide, we have all this room to
To
mess
make
up. But if we
mistakes
narrow the gate, we have a vision of where we need to go, straight as the way.
and focus.
Focus, yes. Focus, focus, focus.
Yes.
So, our simply put, staying on the narrow path, it's hard for us to detour because we have our destination ahead, and it's kind of God's version of a GPS,
Yes.
is that, Matthew 7:14. That's God's
Yes.
GPS saying, stay on the path.
Stay on the path. What a
Yeah,
great message. Do
yeah.
you have any other books that you would like to show our guests?
I do. I have one that's actually I'm collaborating with Kevin Harrington, Nim Stant of International Impact Book Awards.
And
And
I have met them.
Yes, you have. And Kevin Harrington is with the ABC show Shark Tank. And we've got a new release that's coming out in September. It's already listed on Amazon, but is not available until September. I think it's kind of showing there already. It's called The Impact Leaders. Let me show you that. I'll give it a little closer so you can kind of, but this is called The Impact Leaders book.
I also have photos of you signing this book with Kevin Harrington.
We had such a great time. We were in Tampa for that. And we had a media day. We had a mastermind. So Nim was there, Kevin was there, Brandon T. Adams was there, Matt George was there. So we had just this huge big mastermind class that day. And after that, we had like the media day, photos and book signings and all that. And we had so much fun. But this actual book has Kevin and Nim and all the people that I mentioned, but it also has like a whole collection of global change makers that's actually listed on the back of the book.
Very
So
nice.
this will be available in September. And then I have two additional books that will be launching with Trinity Broadcasting Network Trilogy Publishing in the fall of 25, and one that will be with TBN Trilogy Publishing that will launch in the spring of 26.
And
So,
for the viewers, I will show your books and
okay.
your QR codes after the show. I will have all your books shown there. And if they want to purchase it, you're very welcome to scan her QR codes so that you can get her books. And we will leave everything in the description. If there's links, you can just go tap on the link above the video and learn more about Sheree's ministry as well.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Anything else that you would like to leave the guests with,
I would.
the viewers with?
Let me just say one thing that um I kind of feel like a lot of people, Johanna, feel like I can't speak. I'm not a speaker. I'm not a presenter and all that. And I think my message to your audience would be you don't have to be a professional speaker. You don't have to be a world change thought leader. All you need to apply your story, it's called an OST. Heard a pastor say this. I wish I could remember his name, but he said an OST, and that means one sentence testimony. And I think it's really important for your viewers to understand that you don't have to be a professional to have a testimony. You don't have to be someone that has a certain title, because titles at the end of the day are just nothing. It's all the person that you are, the heart that you have, the love that you give that is your testimony. So what I mean when I say that we need a one sentence testimony, it's kind of like the blind man saying, I now can see. That's his testimony. It was one sentence. I
Yes.
was blind, but
But
now I
now I can
see.
see.
That's his testimony. Or maybe I had an addiction and he set me free.
Yes.
I had grief, but he brought me through.
Yes.
My marriage was at the bottom, but God restored us. That's one sentence testimonies.
Yes.
I truly
Amazing.
believe because we can speak to personal experiences more than we can say, explain to me, Johanna, the Trinity. Well, you could probably explain the Trinity to
I
me.
can write a book.
Right, exactly. but it might take you a minute to get your thoughts
Yes,
together. But when
yes.
I ask you for an OST, when I say to you, give me a one sentence testimony,
I have one.
you're going to be able to do that because it's personal to you. Go, you go. Tell me that.
Give me hope.
Ah, I love
Give
it.
me
I
hope
love
with
it.
Joanna.
Give me hope with Johanna Vendel.
Yes,
I love
yes.
it. I love it. So
That
that's
is definitely
that.
why I have made this platform, so that people can
Yes,
come and tell me about that one sentence that brought
yes.
them to where they are today.
Yes, they're one OST, one sentence testimony. And
Yes,
that, I mean, we all have it. We all have a God story. We all have it. So it's so important for us to apply, our testimony because it's personal. Like I don't have to stop and think and try to speak like someone else and say other people's words. I have an OST. I have my own
story.
story, my own testimony.
Yes.
So, but I just want
And
to thank you, Johanna, for having me today. And I would like to also say this in reference to my book, writing my book, my mom telling me to finish it, stepping out in faith to do it, walking into TBN and it being accepted as a signed author with TBN trilogy, then to submit to international, then to get an award I never in a million years thought that I would get, now to being asked to be on a team of a brand new international company with our CEO. And she is actually going to be launching it this weekend. Her name is Valerie Julerat. I believe I said that right. She's our CEO. It's called International Christian Book Awards. And this is elevating authors in the Christian faith-based community to be honored for what they do and for the God that they serve. And I
well,
am so
I have
excited to be a
three
part of
books which is Christian based, and all three my books is Christian based because God is just all over in that book,
that. Yes,
or in those books.
you
And
have to
I'll
submit.
definitely be your first submission
I
as
love
soon
it.
as you open up your new business. I'll definitely submit my books
It
for.
is actually,
Um,
let me show you this. And here is the logo, and this is
I
Valerie.
I actually was she with us
She
also
was
when.
with us. Yes, ma'am. And then
Oh,
the
I was gonna
QR
say she
code,
looks familiar. She also won an award that same
she,
night.
she did. She was with us. Well, it's so funny because there was only just a few of us faith-based authors that was there at the red carpet that night. And we all seemed to kind of navigate to one another. And so you have to submit. She's already done an amazing, incredible job getting this off the ground with and Nim is also putting her education behind some thoughts in it. Of course, this is
Yes.
not anything to do with
Yes.
impact. This is all
And it just
Christian
shows
international.
you, hey, about people coming into your lives that maybe is just there, hello, goodbye. And if you think
Yeah.
about where we met,
Yes. If
when
we
we were
hadn't
like
been if
making ourselves look beautiful in the
beautiful that
bathroom. And look
oh
at
my
that.
gosh, that is so true. That is so true. We met at on the red carpet rest area.
And we were both getting so hot in our
It was
dresses.
miserable hot, yeah, for a little bit. Yeah, it sure was. But
And look at
that's when we
us
met.
today. And when is it? Was February? Now it's
Yes,
already about 4 months
less
only that we know each other. And
unbelievable.
Sheree, I think you are going to be one of the people who's definitely going to stay in my life.
Oh, absolutely. I 100% agree with that, Johanna. I am, and I hope to see you in October.
Oh,
I
yes,
think
I'm definitely going to be there. I am a finalist.
I
Um,
I as well.
Yes.
Well, yes, but I think that's going to be so much fun to be able to see all the people that was there, that actually became Author of the Year finalist.
Yes, we must
I
definitely
didn't
take a
expect,
picture when we're there, and
yes,
I'll put a whole show up with all of our photos after October. I will actually maybe invite a few of the other authors so we can have a group chat
like a
um,
panel.
recording one day about
Oh,
all
that
our
would be
stories, because
fantastic.
my podcast, Give Me Hope with Johanna, is about inspirational stories.
Yes,
And every single person who have written a Christian book
yes,
must definitely have a good story behind that,
that's exactly right.
which
And
I would like to hear. So if you
oh,
out
absolutely.
there have any stories that you would like to share with me, please feel free to contact me. My email address will appear at the bottom of the show throughout the show, like it is right there. And please just email me and we can get you on my show to tell your story.
Amen.
Sheree, time is unfortunately running out. Do you want to show your other books for me quickly?
The other two are in editing, but these are the
Oh,
two. Yeah, the other two are in editing with TBN trilogy. But these are
oh,
the two.
those are the two books.
These
Okay.
are the two that I have now. I am finishing my doctorate degree, and so I can't get them published until then because some of that is going to be applied as a dissertation. So I'm having to kind of wait. But that's okay because I
You
really
know
need this.
what? Sometimes we have to wait to get good
Yes.
results.
You're exactly right. You're exactly. God has a plan, and it's up to
Yes.
us to do the planning.
I
I
really enjoy it so much to speak to you and to
did.
listen to you, because I feel so light when I speak to you,
Oh,
because of how I personally feel also, and
yes.
the way you speak about all of these, like just life and light,
Oh,
that
thank you
makes
so much.
life lighter.
It's
It's
God is
it's
what it is, right?
unbelievable how I can feel that from you as well. It is
Oh,
amazing.
that is
So,
that is such a blessing and an honor for you to say that. I do a lot of praying. I do a lot
well,
of praying,
keep
Johanna.
praying for my show so that people share it and
I
like it
absolutely will.
and subscribe to my channel. I only have a few subscribers to my YouTube channel, as I am still a new podcast host.
Yes.
So it takes 1 minute to share
Yes, exactly.
to
Like,
share
share,
this
and
video.
yes,
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 like,
exactly.
share, and subscribe.
And subscribe. That's exactly right.
you
That's
know,
exactly right. And all of my information you can I'll give to you and you can
it
also add
yes,
that.
it will
I
be
just
all in the description at the top of this
Yes, that would
video.
be fantastic. I do speaking engagements, women's ministry, conferences, in which I have another Zoom call here in just a few minutes with a director of ministry for women for next year's women's conference. So we're really excited about that. We're excited about international. We're excited about the Kevin Harrington project. And mostly I'm excited to see you, Johanna Vendel,
To
in
give you a
Hollywood,
tight hug
California
when
in
I see you.
October. Yes. Yes. Hi.
Well, Sheree, thank you so much for coming onto my show. I appreciate this so much.
Absolutely.
And
Anytime.
may God only bless you more, because I see that you are still going to touch a lot of people's hearts
Thank you, honey.
with your
I truly appreciate
stories.
that. Thank you so very much. And you have a wonderful, blessed day. And I'll see you in just a few months.
I will see you in October,
All
on
right.
October 4th.
October 4th, Hollywood, California. I'll see you there.
Yes. Well, you have been watching Give Me Hope with Johanna. And if you've got a story to share, please reach out to me. May God bless you, and I will see you next week. Have a good day.
This has been Give Me Hope with your host, Johanna Vendel. Join Johanna each week and harness the transformative power of storytelling to facilitate healing and growth. Wednesdays, 11 a.m. Eastern.